Scandinavians drink more coffee than almost anyone else on Earth. The average Swede gets through 4 cups a day. Norwegians drink more than 5. But here is something the coffee industry does not want you to know. Most supermarket coffee bags hide a critical piece of information. They show you a best before date 12 months into the future. What they do not show you is when the coffee was actually roasted. And that matters because coffee loses up to 70% of its aromatic compounds within the first few weeks after roasting. I spent weeks investigating the 7 most popular coffee brands across Scandinavia. What I found was a pattern of family businesses sold to multinational corporations, shrinking packages with unchanged prices, and coffee marketed as premium when the reality is far more complicated. Number 1, Gevalia. Gevalia is the largest coffee roastery in Scandinavia and the number 1 brand in Sweden. The iconic gold packaging, the connection to Swedish coffee tradition, the former royal warrant from the King of Sweden. It all sounds impressive, but here is the reality. Gevalia started in 1853 in Gävle, Sweden, as a family business run by the Engwall family for over 120 years. That ended in 1971, when they sold to General Foods, an American food conglomerate. Today, Gevalia is split between 2 massive corporations. In Scandinavia and Europe, it is owned by JDE Peet's, a Dutch multinational that controls dozens of coffee brands worldwide. In North America, it is owned by Kraft Heinz. And here's what that corporate ownership means for you. The coffee sold in North America under the Gevalia name is not even imported from Sweden anymore. It is roasted, ground, and packaged by Kraft in North America. So when American consumers think they are buying authentic Swedish coffee, they are actually getting coffee that never touched Swedish soil. Quality complaints have mounted over the years. Longtime customers report that Gevalia has gone downhill since it stopped being imported, describing flavors as stale, musty, and burnt. One reviewer said their Columbia blend smelled like badly burnt toast and tasted like chicken that was burnt on the grill and seasoned with dirt. The royal warrant is gone. The family ownership is gone. What remains is a brand name attached to coffee produced on an industrial scale by corporations whose priority is shareholder returns, not Swedish coffee tradition. JDE Peet's, the company that owns Gevalia in Europe, made headlines in 2022 for a different reason. When other companies withdrew from Russia following the invasion of Ukraine, JDE Peet's chose to continue doing business there. Their CEO publicly defended the decision. So when you buy Gevalia, you are supporting a company that prioritized Russian market access over international solidarity during a European conflict. Gevalia Mellanrost is considered one of the mildest Swedish coffees, described by experts as the general, standard Swedish coffee. If you want complexity, nuance, or the experience of a truly fresh roast, this is not where you will find it. Number 2, Löfbergs. Löfbergs appears to be everything Gevalia is not. Still family-owned after 4 generations. One of the world's largest importers of organic and fair trade coffee. Their purple packaging is iconic across Sweden, where they hold nearly 25% of the market. The company was founded in 1906 in Karlstad by 3 brothers, and today it is chaired by Catherine Löfberg, the great-granddaughter of one of those founders. They roast over 100 tons of coffee daily in Karlstad, enough for more than 10 million cups. So what is the problem? First, let us talk about the regional marketing myth. Löfbergs built its brand partly through aggressive sponsorship of Färjestad, the local hockey team in Karlstad. The team even played in purple colors to match the coffee brand. But when the team started losing, coffee sales dropped. The connection was so strong that Löfbergs eventually asked the team to stop playing in purple because bad hockey was hurting coffee sales. This tells you something important. The regional loyalty that Scandinavian coffee brands cultivate is as much about marketing psychology as it is about product quality. You are not buying better coffee. You are buying team colors and local pride. Second, the supermarket coffee paradox applies here just as it does everywhere else. Löfbergs Lila is described by coffee experts as one of the mildest Swedish coffees, along with Gevalia Mellanrost. Mild, in coffee terms, often means safe, inoffensive, and roasted to appeal to the broadest possible audience, rather than to highlight the unique characteristics of the beans. Third, while Löfbergs makes much of their organic and fair trade credentials, these certifications address how coffee is grown, not how fresh it is when it reaches you. A fair trade certified coffee that sat in a warehouse for 3 months is still stale coffee. The company has expanded aggressively, acquiring Peter Larsen Cafe in Denmark, Crema in Norway, and Melna in Latvia. They supply IKEA stores worldwide. This scale is impressive from a business perspective, but scale and freshness are fundamentally in tension. The bigger the operation, the longer the supply chain, the older the coffee by the time it reaches your cup. Löfbergs is better than many alternatives on this list, but being family-owned does not automatically mean the coffee in your supermarket bag was roasted last week. Number 3, Zoegas. Zoegas is the dark roast king of southern Sweden, dominating the Skåne region with over 60% of the dark coffee market. The brand has roots going back to 1886, when Carlos Zoega, a Swedish-Danish businessman with Italian heritage who had lived in Brazil, brought his coffee knowledge to Helsingborg. The Zoega family story is romantic. Carlos died just 2 years after establishing the company, and his widow Maria took over, eventually building it into a Scandinavian institution with her second husband. Their Mollbergs Blandning from 1903 and Skånerost from 1918 are still produced today. But here is where the romance ends. In 1986, exactly 100 years after the founding, Zoega was sold to Findus, which was owned by Nestlé. Today, Zoegas operates as part of Nestlé Sweden AB, one of the largest food corporations on the planet. And Nestlé has made some interesting decisions with this heritage brand. In 2015, Zoegas pulled off one of the classic corporate maneuvers. They reduced the package size from 500 grams to 450 grams while keeping the price the same. That is an 11% reduction in product for the same money. A silent price increase that most consumers never noticed. This is shrinkflation in action. The company has also promoted a marketing myth about water. They claimed for years that their Skånerost was specially suited to the local water in Skåne. Coffee experts at Örebro University have tested this claim and found it to be exactly what it sounds like, a myth. Sweden's granite geology means water is soft throughout most of the country. Blind tastings showed that even coffee experts could not tell the difference between coffees brewed with different soft and hard water. The historic Zoegas coffee shop on Drottninggatan in Helsingborg, which had operated since 1901, was shut down by Nestlé in 2022. It took local entrepreneurs working with Nestlé to reopen it as Café 1886, less than 3 months later. The corporate owner saw a historic site as expendable. Zoegas does deserve some credit. They were early adopters of blockchain traceability, partnering with Rainforest Alliance to let consumers scan QR codes and trace beans back to their origins in Brazil, Rwanda, and Colombia. This is genuine transparency, but transparency about bean origins does not address the fundamental issue. The package does not tell you when the coffee was roasted. The blockchain can trace beans across continents, but not across the weeks or months they might have spent in warehouses after roasting. Number 4, Arvid Nordquist. Of all the brands on this list, Arvid Nordquist has the strongest credentials. Family-owned since 1884. A royal warrant holder since 1907. The company claims to be Sweden's leading sustainable and organic coffee, ranking number 1 on the Swedish Sustainable Brand Index. The Nordquist family is now in its 3rd generation of ownership, led by CEO Anders Nordquist. They use exclusively 100% Arabica beans, roast using biogas instead of fossil fuels, and have made all their coffee Rainforest Alliance or Fair Trade certified since 2014. So why is Arvid Nordquist on this list? Because even good companies operate within a broken system. Arvid Nordquist is distributed through the same supermarket channels as every other brand here. That means their coffee sits on shelves, subject to the same supply chain delays, the same warehouse storage, the same mystery about actual freshness. Their packaging touts certifications and sustainability achievements. What it does not prominently feature is a roast date. Like every other mainstream brand, they operate on the best before system that tells consumers nothing meaningful about freshness. The company's marketing emphasizes taste and sustainability, which are both important. But they have not challenged the fundamental industry practice of hiding roast dates behind distant expiration dates. Coffee experts categorize Arvid Nordquist alongside Zoegas as having a higher or darker roast than Gevalia and Löfbergs. This is described as being niched for customers who like more astringency and power in their coffee. Dark roasting can be used to mask lower quality beans or to create a uniform flavor profile that hides the degradation that comes with age. There is also the matter of scale. Arvid Nordquist operates throughout the Nordic region with nearly 340 employees. They conduct over 100,000 sales visits per year. This is not a small artisan roaster carefully timing each batch. This is an industrial operation, albeit a relatively responsible one. Arvid Nordquist is probably the best mainstream option on this list, but best among supermarket coffees is not the same as genuinely fresh or genuinely exceptional. If you have made it this far, you are clearly someone who cares about what goes into your coffee cup. Before we get to the remaining 3 brands, I want to ask you to do 2 things. If you are finding this information valuable, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I am exposing the truth about everyday products that most people buy without thinking twice. And trust me, what is coming next is even more shocking. Number 5, Friele. Friele is Norway's largest coffee producer, commanding 29% of the market with their flagship Friele Frokost Cafe. The company dates back to 1799, when ship captain Herman Friele landed in Bergen and established an import business focused on coffee. For over 200 years, Friele was owned by the Friele family, passed down through 7 generations. Herman Friele served as chairman until 2013. Then the family sold to D.E. Master Blenders, 1753. That company later merged with Mondelez International's coffee division to become Jacobs Douwe Egberts, which then merged with Peet's Coffee to form JDE Peet's. Let me translate that corporate history. A Norwegian family business that survived for over 2 centuries is now owned by the same Dutch multinational conglomerate that owns Gevalia, along with Douwe Egberts, Jacobs, Senseo, Tassimo, and dozens of other brands. And if the JDE Peet's name sounds familiar, it should. This is the same company that chose to continue operating in Russia after the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. When you buy Friele, your money flows to the same corporate parent as when you buy Gevalia. In August 2025, the story took another turn. Keurig Dr. Pepper announced it was acquiring JDE Peet's for $18 billion. Friele is now on track to become part of an even larger American beverage conglomerate. The consolidation continues. What was once a Bergen family business will soon be a small piece of a company that also makes Dr. Pepper, Snapple, and Green Mountain Coffee. Friele sources beans from 9 to 10 countries, mainly Brazil and Kenya. They built a new plant in 1981 that expanded their reach from western and northern Norway to the entire country. But corporate ownership has changed the fundamental character of what Friele represents. The family name remains on the package. The family no longer makes the decisions. Number 6, Evergood Cafe. Evergood holds the distinction of being Norway's most preferred coffee brand, even among customers of grocery chains that do not carry it. The company has invested over 138 million Norwegian kroner in advertising over 32 years, generating revenues exceeding 5 billion kroner. Evergood is owned by Johansen Cafe, a family business dating back to 1866. They control 45% of the Norwegian coffee market, making them by far the dominant player. Their production facility in Vestby is marketed as Norway's most environmentally friendly coffee roastery, with 85% lower CO2 emissions than conventional plants. The company roasts 70 to 80 tons of top-quality beans daily. Their classic blend uses 100% Arabica beans from Colombia, Kenya, Costa Rica, Brazil, and Guatemala. It carries Rainforest Alliance certification. So what is wrong with Evergood? The brand was explicitly created as a premium positioning strategy. The name itself derives from the company's approach in the 1950s, when the coffee market was plagued by inconsistent quality from spot purchases of raw coffee. Joe Johansson developed consistent blends to guarantee predictable taste and quality every time. That word predictable is important. Evergood is engineered for consistency, not complexity. The goal is that every cup tastes the same as the last one. For some consumers, this is exactly what they want. But it is the opposite of what specialty coffee offers, where variation between batches and seasons is part of the experience. Evergood's marketing slogan translates roughly to slightly more expensive for the sake of taste. They have spent decades building the perception that their coffee is premium. But premium positioning and premium product are not the same thing. The environmental credentials are genuine and impressive. The new Vestby plant represents a real commitment to sustainability. But environmental roasting does not solve the freshness problem. Coffee from the most sustainable roastery on Earth still goes stale if it sits in warehouses and on shelves for months. The dominance of Johansson Cafe, owning both Evergood and ALI Cafe while controlling nearly half the Norwegian market, also raises questions about competition and choice. When one company controls that much market share, is the coffee aisle really offering you meaningful alternatives? Number 7. Merald. Merald is Denmark's leading coffee brand, with a presence extending to the Baltic countries, Iceland, and the Faroe Islands. More than 1 billion cups of Merald are consumed every year. The brand was founded in the early 1960s by Müller Merald, a grocer frustrated by the lack of quality coffee on the Danish market. He bought his first roaster in 1960 and installed it in his basement, experimenting until he developed blends that delivered consistent taste regardless of harvest and season. His recipes from those early years remain in production today. Müller Merald built his brand on the principle of high quality at the right price. Then the corporate carousel began. In 1979, Merald sold to Douwe Egberts, the Dutch coffee giant. The company passed through Sara Lee Corporation and eventually landed with DE Master Blenders, 1753. When DE Master Blenders merged with Mondelez International's coffee division to form Jacobs Douwe Egberts, European regulators required the company to divest certain brands to prevent monopolistic control. Merald was one of those brands. It was sold to Lavazza, the Italian coffee company, in 2015. In February 2024, the transformation became official. Merald Cafe APS was renamed Lavazza Denmark APS. The company statement explained that this marked more than a name change. It reflected their journey since the 2015 acquisition and symbolized their integration into the Lavazza Group. The Kolding Roastery, where Merald coffee was made for decades, was closed in 2011. Danish coffee lovers buying Merald today are purchasing a brand that is now part of an Italian multinational, with coffee likely roasted outside Denmark. This is the pattern across Scandinavian coffee. Passionate founders build quality reputations over decades. Then corporations acquire those reputations and leverage them while gradually optimizing for efficiency over craft. Müller Merald's basement roaster and experimental blends became a billion-cup-per-year brand. That growth is impressive, but something is lost when a grocer's passion project becomes a line item on an Italian corporation's balance sheet. Okay, I know that was heavy. You might be looking at your coffee shelf right now thinking, what am I supposed to drink? Don't worry, there are genuinely good options out there. Look for specialty roasters that print the roast date on the bag, not just a best before date 12 months in the future. In Sweden, try Johan and Nyström or Kopi. In Norway, consider Tim Wendelboe or Kaffa. In Denmark, look for Coffee Collective or April coffee roasters. Yes, they cost more, but you are paying for coffee at its peak, not coffee that has been slowly degrading in a warehouse for months. The flavor difference is immediately noticeable. Once you taste genuinely fresh coffee, supermarket coffee will never feel the same. If you must buy supermarket coffee, stick to plain options rather than flavored blends. Buy whole beans instead of pre-ground, since ground coffee goes stale faster. And buy smaller quantities more frequently rather than one big bag that sits in your kitchen for a month. You can also consider making your own cold brew. It is more forgiving of older beans and extracts different compounds than hot brewing. A simple overnight steep can make even mediocre beans taste acceptable. Here is what to check on every bag. First, is there a roast date? If you only see a best before date, that coffee could have been roasted months ago. Second, is it 100% Arabica? Robusta contains higher levels of acrylamide and tastes harsher. Third, does the bag have a one-way degassing valve? Quality packaging lets carbon dioxide escape without letting oxygen in. The goal is not to never drink supermarket coffee again. The goal is to drink coffee that delivers what these brands promise in their marketing: freshness, quality, and the experience that made Scandinavians fall in love with fika in the first place. So what do you think? Are you drinking any of these brands right now? Have you noticed changes in quality over the years? Drop a comment below because I genuinely want to know your experience. And if this opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to see it. Your colleague, your family, anyone who is drinking these brands without knowing what is really going on behind the heritage marketing and the corporate ownership structures. I will see you in the next one.